Happy Heartstopper Day. Today is the 3rd of August, which means it's the day that series 2 of Heartstopper is landing on Netflix. And while I'm pissed at Netflix generally, I need me that queer joy. So, in this video, fuck knows what's gonna happen, but all I know is that my good friend Helen is coming over today. We are gonna watch the entirety of series 2. I'm probably gonna check in with you maybe after every episode, maybe throughout, maybe we're gonna chunk it up. I have no plan, okay? No plan, but we're gonna watch it. I'm gonna make some sushi for lunch. We're gonna have a chit chat. Then I think I'm gonna reread the volumes, and my friend Lula has lent me the 2 novellas, which I still haven't read, This Winter and Nick and Charlie. And then on Saturday, today is Thursday, it's my friend Lula's birthday, and they're coming over here with a few other pals, and then we're having another watch party of series 2 of Heartstopper. Essentially, Helen and I are watching it today, partly because we're impatient and we can't wait till Saturday, but also so that I can love my friends and find their chit chat endearing on Saturday. I need to have already seen the episodes so that I don't end up becoming stern with them. So that's the vague, loose plan. We're maybe going to get some other people's opinions. Helen may or may not want to appear on camera, or she may be a disembodied voice, or I may just tell you what she thinks. But this is it. We're gonna watch Heartstopper. We're gonna read Heartstopper, then we're gonna watch Heartstopper again. Okay? Let's do it. Hey, 3 episodes in and we're not crying yet, so that's good. It's really good. It's like a bit more mature, a bit more grown up, a bit more of there's still the joy that you want from Heartstopper, but it's definitely dealing with some of the realities and complexities of coming out. But it is delightful so far. I think we're both enjoying it. A couple of characters who absolutely need to get in the bin. Who needs to get in the bin? Ben. Charlie's mum, awful. Nick's brother. Who else? A bit Mr. Farouk. I mean, I know he's going to come into his own later, but teachers don't actually need to be that strict. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, enjoying. And I don't have much else to say right now. Partly because making sushi is occupying a lot of my brain, and also partly because I'm just going to feel my feelings, and we'll catch up with you towards the end. I am feeling personally attacked by how much I want all of their clothes, though, given that I'm in my 30s. That's a bit rude. What else? Yeah, we'll leave it there for now. Definitely ate the sushi before taking any pictures of it. So here's a picture of the 3 pieces that my partner left. Currently walking Lewin because he absolutely couldn't wait. 1 episode to go. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie. I told you I didn't know what was gonna happen. And what happened was I didn't really feel like stopping and talking to you as I was watching it, and I'm sorry about that. But we have watched the whole of series 2. We watched the whole of series 2, and then we watched the first episode of series 2 again while we waited for Helen's partner to come and pick her up. It was great. It was a lot like, if you've read the books, you'll know that like the themes that start being introduced get more mature, and it did feel like a more grown up, more mature version of series 1. There was still a lot of joy in it, and that was really lovely to see, but I really liked the way they approached the complexity of some of the situations that queer kids deal with, particularly around coming out. I think, you know, it's such a like misnomer that you like come out and then you're out. Like, you come out and then you continue to come out, and you can be out in one part of your life and not in other parts of your life, and who you have to come out to, who you don't have to come out to. I think all of that just chef's kiss. It was really nice getting some more of the adults, even though Charlie's mum can get in the bin and definitely Darcy's mum can get in the bin. Really liked Mr. Ajayi and Mr. Farouk. Even if Mr. Farouk is just like the most repressed man, bless him. And I do, aside from everything Heartstopper's about, I'm here for and I love. But as someone who works in education, the safeguarding in that film, oh my God, just 2 teachers taking like 30 kids to France, sure. Just gonna leave them do whatever the fuck they want, sure. Yeah, absolutely fine. Just gonna let them wander around Paris, yeah. Like, anyway, so I'm feeling a little jittery and a little like, it was lovely. Just, you know, we were both reflecting afterwards. It's so great that it exists now, but it's hard to not be a little bit sad that I didn't have anything like that when I was a teenager. Yeah, it's doing important work, and I will always appreciate it for that. So I think I'm gonna read the graphic novels now and then maybe get on to the novellas, because man, they just left series 2 there right at the end. I couldn't remember because I hadn't reread them before series 2. I was so sure the I Love You plotline was in volume 2. And it's not, and now we're gonna wait. But yay. Queer love. And I'm wearing a t-shirt in honor of Nick Nelson and straight presenting bisexuals everywhere. See you in a little bit. Maybe see you later. Maybe see you when I've read one of these. Maybe just see you for the chaos that Saturday will be. It will probably, maybe I'll do like a little Q&A with pals. Maybe we'll like ask who everyone's favorite characters are, favorite scenes, favorite bits and bobs. Maybe once again, I will just not film anything. Who the fuck knows? What a joyful thing, eh? Bye. Oh, yo, hey, hi. We're on to the second little watch party of Heartstopper today. It's my friend Lula's birthday. They're coming over. We're going to watch Heartstopper. I'm in the process of making a cake, which I think is going to be quite successful, you know. I'll show you in a sec. Since we last spoke, I have reread volumes 1 to 4 of Heartstopper, and I've also read This Winter and Nick and Charlie, which are novellas that come, I think, either side of Solitaire, or maybe they're both after Solitaire, but Solitaire is the novel that comes after the Heartstopper volumes, and focuses more on Charlie's sister, Tori. Yeah, I liked them. I think it's interesting because I had misremembered quite a lot of what was in the volumes, and I'd forgotten that series 1 actually covered pretty much volume 1 and 2. And series 2 definitely kind of chops and changes more, I think, in terms of the content that's in volumes 3 and 4. And I think the way they've approached it is going to mean that there's probably going to be one more season of Heartstopper after this. I think that will exhaust the content that will be in volumes, the rest of volume 4 and volume 5. So I suppose it has to come to an end at some point. But yeah, I thought This Winter was okay. It kind of follows one Christmas day, and it's from the perspective of Tori, Charlie, and what's the little brother called? Oliver Spring? On like one Christmas day. So that was kind of fine. I liked Nick and Charlie a lot more. It was very, 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 very cute. Yeah. So let me show you the cake. So we're going for a Victoria sponge situation, but I realized after I started making it that I only had one cake tin. So this is the bottom half. I have made sort of the bi flag icing. I didn't want to put too much food coloring in because I don't like how it changes the flavor of the icing. But we've got a kind of like pink, purple, blue thing happening in there. We have a dam of raspberries and raspberry jam. And then cake number 2 is in there, which does have some food coloring in the top of it, which has come out more red than anything else, but never mind. And then I might do some more buttercream on the top and use up the last of the raspberries. But it's a vegan cake, which is always, I don't do a lot of baking, and yeah, I think it's come out okay. It's very fragile. So I think the minute I cut it, it's gonna be a disaster. But right now, I'm feeling pretty good about it. Hi. As you may be able to tell, I filmed absolutely nothing, not a moment of the second rewatch of Heartstopper, and I don't really know why. I think partly I was just enjoying being with my pals. Also, we started watching it later on in the day than we'd originally thought, and I kind of, you know, couldn't have people staying in my house until like 2 in the morning because it would freak the dog out. So, you know, I didn't end up filming. And I didn't even get a shot of the cake, which in the end looked really good, tasted fucking fantastic if I do say so myself. I'll put the recipe in the description box down below. I think it was like a Tesco one. And the cake batter had golden syrup in, so it came out as this like beautiful like golden. Am I incredibly wonky? Never mind. If I am, it's a stylistic choice. Yeah, it came out as this like beautiful golden brown colour, and didn't fall apart. Although I am showing my ignorance of baking in that I put a load of rainbow sprinkles in the batter thinking, oh, that'll make like a cute like little funfetti like little rainbow cake. They all just disappeared. They just sort of dissolved, I think, into the batter and made this sponge extra sweet. So that was cake. And I've ummed and ahed, lads, about what to do for the remainder of this video. I thought about just scrapping everything I filmed and just like doing a kind of scripted something on Heartstopper, because I did say I would do something and I do want to talk about it. But then I thought, fuck it, I'm too lazy to do that. So I'm just gonna ramble at you now with some kind of final thoughts. I'm kind of maybe gonna go through like a bit like character by character and just kind of pick up on some of the themes or things that I resonated with as I go. So I know there are lots of there's lots of content out there now, particularly on TikTok and stuff, people talking about Heartstopper, and lots of people have put a lot of like time and thought into what they're saying. I haven't. This is just coming from someone who's now watched the series a few times with a number of people, and they're just my feelings about the show. Okay? So right, we'll start with, you know what? He is my favourite character, and I know it's basic for Nick Nelson to be a favourite character, but he is. There's lots of reasons. He's just a very good boy. And I think that's really nice to see, firstly. Secondly, I just think what I loved so much about Nick's character in the first series was that he was so open to the possibility of being queer, even when he was confused by it. And I think that was so great to see, that his default wasn't to repress it and was to be open and curious about it. And I think that's so healthy to show people, particularly for kind of any kind of multisexual, like bisexual, pansexual identities, where like it's a little bit easier to repress parts of our identities. I think it was so great that he was so automatically open. And I think the thing that lots of people did like, but also I've seen a lot of people complain about in series 2, is that I'm bi actually stuff. But here's the thing, I think that him automatically being so bi proud and so willing to clarify and correct people who have misunderstood his identity, I think is so fucking great. I feel it in my soul, I'm bi actually, because I think people tend to understand your sexual identity based on your partner, right? And I was talking to my friend Helen about this because I asked her what her favourite part of the series is. She's like me, she's also a bisexual person who's in a relationship with a man and therefore is quite straight presenting, or people can, assume that you're straight because, I'm in a long-term relationship with a man. I will forgive people for assuming I'm straight. I will not forgive them for forgetting I'm not. Once I have told you, I shouldn't have to tell you again. But I think that idea of people making assumptions based on who your partner is a particular issue for kind of bisexual, pansexual people. And here's the thing, it shouldn't be a big deal, but sometimes it really does feel like a big deal when people get it wrong. And also it implies that your identity isn't about you and that it's to do with external factors, which is just not true. And is, I think, something that is maybe is the like nub of where people have been getting salty with Nick for correcting people when they assume he's gay. But I just I felt it in my bones. I was like, yeah, we all know that experience. But maybe we don't all know that experience, and that's the thing. And I also think like Helen and I, we're both in our like mid-30s, and this is the first time I'm really seeing that side of bisexuality explored. Sucks that it's in a kind of YA like teenage show. I'm still waiting for the version of Nick Nelson that's in a straight presenting relationship. Do you know what I mean? Because I think that is I'm still waiting for that. I'm still waiting for that rep. And if you have a recommendation for that, I am always looking out for it, because I think it's so easy to be lumped in and have people make assumptions that therefore if you're in a straight presenting relationship you must be straight, and I think for a long time it's what made a lot of bisexual people not feel welcome in queer spaces, but then not feel 100% right in non-queer spaces. And it's a whole thing, and I love that this show is exploring that idea. And honestly, if him saying and clarifying that he was bisexual kept annoying you, then I think you need to look at yourself. Okay, and that's all I'm going to say about that. And yeah, Nick's relationship with Charlie, I think they're such mature little babies. I mean, I hate that Nick is the person that's noticing Charlie's food thing and not like his parents. We'll talk about his parents in a bit though. I just think their relationship is so transparent a lot of the time. I think conversations around consent, actually throughout the show, not just in Nick and Charlie's relationship, were really, really interesting and nuanced, and I think actually was definitely something that was missing from the sort of like teen dramas that like I was watching growing up, because I think that's something that is still not really understood. And I think particularly by people of my generation and older, some of those like nuances around consent, you think a lot of people are still confused by it. So I really liked that. I'm scared for Charlie, little baby Charlie, with like where his storyline is going. Although I'm slightly less trepidatious now that I've read the Nick and Charlie novella, so I'm feeling a bit less panicky, but still sweet boy, sweet boy. Tao and Elle, can I just say, I fucking love Tao. I think he's so cool, and I love his little Wes Anderson obsession, because that was so me as a teenager and definitely still me now. He also, I wanted to wear every single outfit that Tao wore in this show, and like, it will never not upset me that I'm not like 6'5". But there we go. I did find though, I really like Tao and Elle's relationship, firstly, and there's lots of things I like about it. But I had a little bit of a problem with their like disagreement in the middle of the series. It felt a little bit contrived, but I don't know if that's partly because I actually feel like Elle is a really underexplored character, and I think it's what I like about her character is also maybe what I think is a bit holding us at a distance. I really like that they've not made all of her storylines about the fact that she's trans. I think that's really, really great and cool that we're seeing her as this multifaceted person. But I don't think we're 100% seeing her as a multifaceted person, because we're not exploring that aspect of her identity. But mostly, for me, I just feel a bit like I don't really know who Elle is, and it's not a criticism of Yasmin Finney at all, or the writing really. I would like to see more from Elle in series 3, because I feel like if you take the interactions with the characters away from her, like, I don't know who she is when she's like by herself, in a way that I understand like who Isaac is and I understand who Tao is. And I feel a bit like that with Tara too. I think Tara with Darcy, I get it and I understand who she is, but Tara by herself, I feel like I don't have such an understanding of who she is as a person, and I would really like to see Tara explored a little bit in a bit more detail. I also appreciate that this is difficult to do in like a relatively small series in terms of like minutes. You know, you get 8 half-hour episodes and there's lots of characters and you're exploring lots of things. So like, again, it's not a criticism of the show, but it is something that I would like to see more of, because I think of that cohort, Ellen, Tara, actually Tara most for me felt like she didn't have as much to do in this series, and that most of what she was doing was worrying about Darcy. But yeah, and also, oh, Darcy, sweet girl. I think, and I said earlier in a clip, I think, about what I think was so interesting about this show, and what was the way it explores the experience and process and continuous state of coming out was so interesting, because I think it's so true to life that, you know, I think that there is this assumption that once you're out, and you're kind of like out to everyone, and it's not just this constant kind of, yeah, like a constant process of sort of disclosing yourself or not disclosing yourself to different people in your life, and there being contexts where you can be very, very out and proud like Darcy is at school, but then have situations where it doesn't feel safe to be that. And I think it's great that that is being explored, because I think it's, as much as we'd all like to have, you know, Nick's mum, and we'd like to think that that is the home life experience of every queer child, we know that it's not, and therefore I think it was really well explored. I also think they did it in a way that was quite light touch in terms of, and I think they do this with the bullying as well, is that they don't ever get gratuitous with it. They show you just enough for you to understand the situation and the kind of gravity of it, but we don't ever, I think they're really careful to like not put extensive homophobia or transphobia like in the show, and just have it be kind of implied in a relatively light touch way. I think it's very, they're being very responsible for their audience in that way, and also we all kind of understand it implicitly. I think it's good that they've not kind of like over-egged it. Isaac. I am so happy. I'm so happy that Isaac exists in the show. If you've not read the graphic novels, Isaac is not in the graphic novels. He's a different character. I think is he in Radio Silence? I haven't read that one. But there's another character called Alid in the graphic novels who kind of occupies that like fourth member of the group space that Isaac has. But I'll be honest, I find Alad in the graphic novels a bit whiny and a bit annoying, and like he doesn't really add much to the dynamic or to the group. And I think Isaac is such a wonderful character. I really liked his growth in this story. Loveless is my favorite novel of Alice Oseman's, which is I think it's quite an autobiographical novel about a young girl at university discovering that she's aromantic and asexual, and it very much seems to be the journey that Isaac's going to be going on. And I love that they're including that rep in the series where it's not there explicitly in the comics and the graphic novels. I think he's just like such a good boy, and I love that we're going to. I think it's a really nice inclusion to have a romantic asexual character in a show that is essentially known for being like a teen romance, because I do think having those characters allows us to keep checking our biases in terms of, and I mean he says it in the show, doesn't he, about, you know, people don't think I'm interesting because I'm not talking about who I fancy or like what relationship I'm in, and how much of our social time in groups is spent discussing stuff like that. I love what he brings intellectually to the conversation, and I also just think he's like such a sweet character, and I would die for him. I think he's wonderful. Imogen, I think, is another character that was invented for the show, and I really like the journey that she's been on from series 1 to series 2, because I think she feels quite authentically like someone whose heart is in the right place. She's an ally, but who just is sort of trying to learn how to be around queer people, I guess, and how to react to things. And I think her not always knowing what's okay to say or what's not okay to say and being very open about that, even if she is oblivious sometimes as to like how things land with people. I think it's really nice to kind of include that in a character that is making blunders, but making them from a kind of wholehearted and open place, and is willing to sort of understand where they've got it wrong, as opposed to, you know, your like Harrys and your Bens, who, I mean, we'll talk about, but they can get right in the bin. I absolutely loved the bathroom scene where she was like, after she's told Ben to go fuck himself. I also just love that moment of like, I deserve better than this. In the bathroom scene where she's like, everything would be so much better if I just liked girls, and you're like, no, Imogen. Classic example of like just not quite getting it, but she's such a sweetheart. I'm interested in where her storyline goes. I'm curious if she's got if she does end up being a sort of another like bi or pan character, because I think that's also interesting. There's an interesting kind of conversation there about, particularly with like bisexuality or pansexuality, and visibility in terms of the social groups that you move in, and that it can be, those identities can be discovered much later, or perhaps not discovered at all, if you're not around queer people and aware of these sorts of attractions. I just think it's the sort of feelings that seem like they're bubbling under the surface for Imogen in this series feel like she might have missed those or misinterpreted those feelings if she wasn't moving in queer circles. And I think that's like interesting. I mean, I have an incredibly hot take to take on sexuality, which is that I believe everyone is born bisexual and some people just talk themselves out of it. I am joking, maybe. But like, don't come for me. It's not that deep. But I do think there is something in there. Sahar, we didn't see a lot. There was quite a lot of like buzz around Sahar like joining the cast, and we didn't get that much from her. So again, I'm looking forward to seeing more from her in series 3, because it felt like we didn't get that much. And oh my god, the sweet ace boy at the art show, I just loved him. Let's talk about Ben and Harry, because what I thought was great was that through both of their characters, it was kind of exploring this idea of just because you're sorry doesn't mean you de facto have to be forgiven. And that this idea that it doesn't have to be a slate wiped clean just because you recognize that you've acted in a dicky way. I think particularly if you're talking about people who are being homophobic or transphobic, you do kind of out yourself as a not safe person to be around, and you recognizing that you may have said some homophobic things doesn't mean automatically that people are going to want to spend time with you. And I think that's really great to include in a teen drama, and I think more people kind of need to understand that is that you can't just say sorry and expect everyone to be like, oh well fine then, I guess I feel comfortable being around you. And I love that different characters held their ground on that. And again, with the whole Charlie and Ben situation, I think that was really a really great moment for talking about consent. I loved that in Charlie's little speech. I also absolutely loved that Nick was just stood behind him and like literally had his back, but didn't feel the need to like rush in and protect him. And I think that's what's great about the dynamic in Nick and Charlie's relationship, is that they're protective of each other, but they're not to the point where they diminish each other's agency. And I think that is very, very cool. I was gonna talk about Nick's brother, but I feel like there's nothing you can say about Nick's brother except he's a monumental twat. That's it. Just what a homophobic douchebag. Unlike the legend that is Tori Spring. We were chatting, a group of us, about what characters we thought we might be in Heartstopper, and I think I have a fairly healthy quotient of Tori Spring. I really like her. She's the kind of sister that you kind of, I hope I'm a bit like that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, she's great. I fucking love her. I wish I liked Solitaire more as a book, because I love Tori. But yeah. Anyway, so they're the kids, I think. I don't think I've forgotten anyone major. Sorry if I have. And the adults, I really liked that we got more of the adults in this, both the teachers and the parents. I thought the whole dinner scene where Nick comes out to his dad was great in terms of looking at the dynamics. But again, there are certain moments in the show where I cannot believe that Charlie's parents aren't the ones who are spotting some of the issues that Charlie has. Like, how in that situation can you not be watching your kid and noticing that they're not eating? Like, it really rankled. I think his dad's okay. I wish his dad had a bit more of a backbone, Charlie's dad. His mum, I just think, reminds me of those sorts of, I don't know, yeah, I guess the kind of parenting style of all we care about is the boundaries, and that you've got structure and boundaries, and not really about whether or not that is actually going to help you be happy or well. And yeah, I see a little bit of myself in Charlie too. I think he's sweet. I like him. Yeah. What else about the parents? I do love, I did love Mr. Farouk by the end. I did. He ended up being Helen's favourite character. I think she's just saying that 'cause she's a teacher. And I did. I really liked Mr. Farouk and Mr. Ajayi. I really liked that Mr. Farouk just straight up can't always tell when people are flirting with him, which I think is just, oh, what a sweet man. And Coach Singh, just bossing it. I love Coach Singh. Yeah. In general, I think the adults were pretty good. Darcy's mum, obviously terrible. Nick's mum, obviously 10 out of 10, outrageously good. Including when she told Nick's dad that he frankly didn't get to have an opinion because he was too much of an absent parent, and I feel that. And yeah, I had a lovely time with it. It was interesting though, and I'd be interested in like what you guys think of the series, how you think it compares to season 1, because I did really like it, and in lots of ways I think it was, as I've said many times in this video, I think it did feel much more grown up, it did feel much more nuanced, and like it was tackling some of the complexities. If series 1 very much felt like discovery of queer identity or discovery of feelings, and this was much more about like the reality of living with that understanding and exploring that and being open about that. And I think I preferred it for those reasons. I don't think this series is as compulsively watchable as series 1, and I say that in that like I have seen series 1 like so many times. It's absolutely like my #1 comfort show. I think partly because it's quite short as well, because I'm a completer finisher when it comes to TV series. So like if I put something on to be in the background, I then can't let it go until I finish it. So there's a big element of that with Heartstopper for me, is that at least it's only 4 hours or 8 hours now. But I don't think series 2 quite has that compulsive thing, and I think it is just because there's, I think, more complexity there. And I think because it is a little bit more of an ensemble piece, I think series 1 is definitely Nick and Charlie, and you have the supporting cast. This felt a bit more holistic, but I think because of that, I don't know, it didn't quite punch the same, and it didn't make me sob as much as I sobbed in series 1, but that's like not a bad thing. I don't have to cry every day. But yeah, I really loved it. I've seen it a couple of times since I watched it with my pals, and yeah, I would be very interested in hearing your thoughts down below. Let me know like who your favourite characters are, who do you want to hear more from in series 3, who's in the bin forever, who's got potential for coming out of the bin in series 3. Now we know that Ben is not going to be in series 3 because Sebastian Croft has told us that online. But yeah, let me know what you want to see happen in the next series. Let me know what your favourite moments were. Who's had the best outfit? I think the very, very best outfit was Tao's Wes Anderson outfit when he shows up with the flowers. Like, because I'm just, any man who's gonna approach a snakeskin print on a trouser is getting a big thumbs up from me. And Helen, I know, is a big fan. Lots of people, in fact, were big fans of everything Imogen wore in Paris. I think I love a girl who just goes with the theme. But yeah, no hot takes here, I don't really think, in terms of Heartstopper, but I had a jolly, lovely time. And hit me up with your recs if you've got any recommendations for any kind of media, books, TV, film, that have bisexual rep, where the bisexual characters are in straight presenting relationships, and that is actively explored in the show, because like, I'm still waiting, and I have been on this planet for many decades now. So yeah, bit of a different one for me. It wasn't really about books, but hey ho. See you soon. I never know how to end these videos. Like, subscribe, see you soon, see you later, something. Bye, friends.